Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's dive right in. Today we're tackling something that's literally the bedrock of rehabilitation and career counseling, successfully partnering with businesses. If you want to create successful employment outcomes, it almost always begins right here, with strong, professionally managed employer relationships. We're going to unpack exactly how modern counselors are pulling this off, pulling directly from our source material.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the employer engagement partnership, then tackle advocacy versus consultation, explore strategies for building trust, see communication in action, and finally finish up with driving systemic change.
Starting with Section 1, the Employer Engagement Partnership.
So what exactly is employer engagement? At its core, it's the process of developing partnerships with businesses and organizations to create meaningful employment opportunities for individuals with disabilities. But, look a little closer at the underlying purpose here. It's not just about finding one job for one client. It's about counselors deeply understanding workplace expectations, current labor market needs, and the very real concerns employers might have. By doing that, we actively promote disability inclusion and accessible hiring practices across the board.
It's absolutely crucial to remember this isn't just a transactional request. You're not just walking in, knocking on a door, and asking a business to hire someone as a favor. No way. This is about building collaborative, long-term relationships based on trust, communication, professionalism, and mutual benefit. Both the employer and the employee have to gain value from this connection.
Moving right along to Section 2, Advocacy versus Consultation.
Let's see how this builds on our history in the field. Historically, counselors really operated through the lens of traditional advocacy, mostly focusing on protecting client rights and pushing for their specific needs. And hey, advocacy is still incredibly important. But today's professionals really have to adopt a consultation mindset. It's a massive shift. You literally have to think like a business consultant. That means you've got to deeply understand the employer's priorities and present practical solutions that support their business goals just as much as they support your client's success.
So the crucial point is understanding exactly what makes these businesses tick. What are their priorities? Well, it's productivity, employee retention, reliability, teamwork, communication, and workplace culture. These are the metrics they're stressing over every single day. Counselors who get these specific priorities are just significantly more successful because instead of approaching employers with demands or requests, you're presenting yourself as a professional resource who actually solves their workplace challenges.
So how do you actually help solve those challenges? Well, you step up as the expert consultant and actively guide businesses through 4 key steps. Number 1, identify reasonable accommodations. 2, improve their workplace accessibility. 3, develop truly inclusive hiring strategies. And 4, provide disability awareness education to their existing staff. When you frame your role this way, showing professionalism, reliability, and a genuine understanding of their operations, employers are way more eager to collaborate with you.
All right, Section 3, Strategies for Building Trust.
We all know that building long-term partnerships requires consistency, right? Trust doesn't just happen overnight. It develops over time through ongoing communication, consistent follow-up, responsiveness, and of course, positive employment outcomes. You can't just place a client and pull a disappearing act. Employers are far more likely to stick around when they feel supported, respected, and actually see reliable follow-through from you throughout the entire employment process. And to establish that trust on a local level, you've got to be highly visible. You really need a rock-solid grasp of your local labor market. The source makes it clear. Counselors must learn about local industries and hiring trends. Get out there in the community. Attend job fairs, join Chamber of Commerce meetings, participate in workforce development events. All this networking builds your professional visibility before you ever even pitch a specific candidate.
Let's pivot to Section 4, Communication in Action.
Okay, I want you to picture this. Imagine a counselor walking into an employer's office and saying, with a sort of pleading tone, "This client needs a lot of support." Just think about how that lands on a busy business owner for a second. It's a classic example of poor, limitations-focused communication. It completely ignores what the organization needs and just zones in entirely on the disability. Now, what's really interesting is the dramatic shift in approach when we flip the script. Instead of leading with limitations, a consultant says, "This candidate has strong attention to detail, reliability, and motivation, and I can also assist with workplace support strategies to help ensure long-term success." Do you hear the difference there? It's night and day. This phrasing is confident, it's professional, it highlights the candidate's strengths, offers a solution, and directly addresses the long-term workplace outcome that the employer actually cares about.
Let's dive into a slightly deeper scenario from the source to really contrast these approaches.
In a poor communication scenario, a counselor might say something like, "I really hope you can give this person a chance. They've struggled a lot and really need this job." And if the employer hesitates, maybe saying they aren't equipped for it, the counselor pushes back with, "Well, it would really help them if you hired them." Even with the absolute best intentions, this puts immense awkward pressure on the employer. It's entirely emotionally focused and ignores workplace qualifications. Now contrast that with effective, consultation-based communication. The counselor says, "I'd like to discuss a candidate whose skills align perfectly with your company's customer service and inventory needs." And when the employer brings up concerns about managing accommodations, the counselor doesn't get defensive at all. They just naturally say, "That's a completely common question. Actually, many accommodations are low cost or simple. I can assist with planning and provide ongoing support. My goal is a successful match that benefits both the employee and your organization." It's a game changer because it acknowledges their concerns, shows you're a team player, and focuses purely on practical problem solving.
And finally, Section 5, driving systemic change.
Now, this consultation model we've been talking about, it isn't just a nice-to-have skill, it's an expected professional standard. The Certified Rehabilitation Counselor, or CRC, business engagement domain specifically requires competencies in employer relationship building, consultation, and community engagement. These are the absolute essential skills you need to effectively support both the employer and the client every step of the way.
Okay, let's take a quick beat for a knowledge check. Based on everything we've unpacked so far from the source, what is the fundamental difference between advocacy and consultation when you're engaging with employers? Just think about that for a second.
All right, here's the breakdown. Advocacy focuses primarily on supporting and protecting the client's specific needs and rights. Consultation, on the flip side, is all about collaborating with employers to identify practical solutions that support both their business goals and the employee's success. The biggest takeaway here? The most effective, ethical rehabilitation counselors don't just pick one path. They skillfully balance both of these roles at the exact same time.
And honestly, when you strike that balance, amazing things happen. Strong employer partnerships actually create long-term systems change. Think about it. When businesses experience firsthand how seamless disability inclusion can be through just one successful placement, they become infinitely more willing to recruit, hire, and support individuals with disabilities in the future. You're literally promoting workplace equity across the broader community. And just as a quick preview, future explainers will dive even deeper into labor market knowledge and customized employment strategies.
And this brilliantly illustrates our final point. Yes, you play a critical role in individual employment outcomes, absolutely, but your impact goes so much further than that. As you step out to build these collaborative, mutually beneficial partnerships, I want you to ask yourself, how will your next employer consultation transform not just a single career, but an entire workplace culture? Keep that consultation mindset front and center, and you'll absolutely see the difference. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep up the great work.